Yeah. Can you hear me? Did you?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay. As I was telling you towards the end, this particular frog calls like a bird. You can, I think you already seen this video. So let me go ahead. This is called microhylidae. These are called narrow-mouthed frogs from India. And these have proper subgular vocal sacs. See this video. It's also colored. If you see, darker color, right? Yeah. This is the frog which I discovered from Mangalore. It's called Mangalore narrow-mouthed frog. This frog also has a it's a small animal, but second type of call what we have among so far what you observed, majority of them gives the information about the male's fitness, means how fit is the male. Okay. And listening to these sounds, the females would approach and mate or amplect. Amplect means it's an act where the male will embrace the female. Males are smaller, females are larger among amphibians. Males will come and amplect the female. Male will embrace the female. Then female will release the egg and male will release the semen. External fertilization happen. This is another type of call. The call I made you already hear. Why not bush frog call? One of the slides you saw. But this is a defense call. Whenever there are two frogs which are very close by, what happens is the one individual which is at top wants to knock out the other individual so that it'll be able to mate with the female. So it becomes defensive. Means it's territorial. So you can see this is a very interesting. There's a lot of background talk which is going on. Don't pay much attention to that, but attention. Quite interesting. So quite a rustling which happens here. Okay.
ಸುರಾಗ್ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು ಹತ್ತಿರ ಬಂತೀಗ ಹತ್ತಿರ ಬಂತೀಗ
This is rustling in one of my blockers. You can see the rustling which happens now. Then the other main is close. This main which is at the top want to just keep it
ಹೋಗು
at that, and it will do all sort of action.
ಬಟ್ ಮಜಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋದಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಟೈಮ್ ನೆನಪಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸಿಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ
Check the sound
ಆಮೇಲೆ
now. It is
ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿ
not normal.
ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವತ್ತು ನೈಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್
Is it?
ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ
ನಾ ಮಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೆ ಸರ್ ಟೂಲೆಸ್ ಕಟ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು
ಇದೇನು ಈ ಥರ ಕೂಗೋದು
ಎನ್ ಸಿ ಸಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಯಾ ಹೇಳ್ತವ್ರೆ
ಅದಂದ್ರೆ
ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಬದುಕ ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಂಗೆ ನಿಂತದ
ಯಾಕೆ ಸರ್
ದಿನ ಜಿಮ್ಮಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಾನ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದಲ್ಲ
ಗೋ
ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗುದ ಎಲ್ಲೋಡಿ ವಿನೀತ್ ಅವರ ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ
ಈ ಫೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಒಂಥರ
That's almost for 10 minutes.
ಏನೇನು ಲೇಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅಣ್ಣ ಇದು ಮಾರಾಟಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕುತ್ತಾ ಎಂತ ಮಾರ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ ನೀವು
ಆನ್ಲೈನ್
ರೀಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕೋದು ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲ ಏನೂ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಆಕ್ರೋಬ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಫೈಟಿಂಗ್
One man is
ಹಂಗೆ
holding
ಒಂದು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ ಮತ್ತೊಂದನ್ನು
ಒಂದು ಕಾಲಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದೇನೆ
ಓ ವಾಚ್ ಓ ಬಂತು 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 ಅಲ್ಲಿ
in the participants. You can see everybody is, just giving their own commentary. So I told you in the beginning, so don't worry on the background because there's a lot of other conversations going on. But if you observe overall, they're really in a defensive mode, right? They're attacking each other, and one male wants to establish its territory so that eventually he'll get the female. Next, I'm sorry, the third type of call called courtship call. Courtship calls are observed in very few species across the world where a male and female is very close, like female will hear the sound and come close to the male. When the female is very close, the male will start giving a different note. Okay, it's not like the call which it was giving in the advertisement or mating type of a call. Okay, it is a totally different, maybe longer in duration. It may have a different call type. Then we call it as courtship calls. Then what is response call? Sometimes females respond to males. That's called as response call. It is recorded by my good friend called Robin Suesh from Delhi University, the assistant professor. He has recorded response calls in Nyctibatrachus humayuni, okay, from the Bombay night frog. So you can see that they are response calls. Some of the females have given short clicks just to say that, okay, I'm here to the male. Okay, release calls when males hold other males accidentally, because when males are having high hormonal level and they want to mate, they may grab on anything which is very close. So at that time, either males or females, even females who don't want to mate with that, they will give a release call. Of course, this video doesn't have release call, but I can show you here. The female is not interested in the male, but still trying to connect with the female. Whatever calls you're hearing on the background are courtship calls of bicolored frogs. But you can see here a male is trying to amplify the female, but female is not disinterested. Actually. In such situations, females may give something called release call, saying that I'm not interested. Next, amplexus cause. It's also reported in some of the frogs that while they are in amplexus, as you saw, a male was on the female. At that time, they give calls. That we call such calls as amplexus calls. And many of the times when a predator is catching a frog, they will give a stress call or distress call. You don't have a call in it, but situations if you observe, it is a totally different sort of a unique call. It's called as distress. Here you see top frog is been fed by stripe, I think what is bioacoustics now? You saw so many different types of vocal apparatus, and you saw what are the different types of calls. What is bioacoustics now? Bioacoustics is a field of science or biology, you can say it's a physics as well as biology integration, where we basically study sounds of animals. Okay. So it is also called as bioacoustic research or bioacoustics, acoustics. Everything means that we are basically studying sounds. When you study sounds of animals, we call it as bioacoustics. Of course, people are studying sounds made by plants. They're studying sounds made by different creatures, everything. Even plants also make sounds. There are many musics which are produced from sound. You can all sorry from the plants. Okay, you can also watch in YouTube how plants sing. Okay, what are the different tools used in bioacoustics or environment acoustics? First thing is you need a solid state sound recorder. Very very important. You need a proper recorder. Even if you don't have a recorder, nowadays mobile phones are good enough to record because they also have formats which can be useful in analyzing the sounds. So, what are some of the famous solid state? What is solid state sound recorder? Basically, they have something called memory card. Because earlier, if you see, to go back to 1950s or 90s. So they used to use something called as tape recorders. You know that they used to have a film which used to be recording the sounds, and then they had to analyze. It's a cumbersome process. Like go back in photography, they had films, right? Similar with they had to watch it and develop it, etc., which is a cumbersome process. But now things have become easy. You can store humongous amounts of data in this small chip or card called as memory card. Such devices which use memory cards are called as solid state recorders. It comes in different brands. Some of the most famous brands are Marantz, Tascam, Sony, Zoom. I use Zoom H4n for my recordings. And the microphones are also very important because you need to use the right microphone. Because these uh, solid state sound recorders, what they have is stereo microphone. You can see it says stereo means you'll record everything in the surrounding. But most of the time when you're doing bioacoustic studies, you don't want a symphony of sounds. You want to record only one particular animal and understand what is its sound uh, trying to make sense of, okay, or how is it helpful for us in research. So at that time, it becomes very imperative that you should have this type of microphones. And there are two types of microphone choice what you have called dynamic microphone and condenser microphone. Dynamic microphones are usually used in whatever mics what you use for any functions or programs, etc. Dynamic microphones, which are not very sensitive. Okay, these are highly sensitive microphones called as condenser microphones. So if you see, I'll quickly tell you what is the mechanism they work on. This works on the Faraday's law. As you know that whenever a metal coil moves around, a magnet, it produces current, current electricity. Okay, this has a charged backplate and a diaphragm. Whenever sound hits here, the sound is converted ultimately by this device, and there's a charge device here, charge backplate, which will conduct the sound and convert ultimately into electrical signals. So basically, sound is a wave. This diaphragm is receiving the waves and it is vibrating. As they vibrate, this coil moves and coil moves around the magnet that is converted into electrical signals. Here, whereas here already power is supplied, okay, in condenser micro and very sensitive. Even if a very small hiss is there, it will be able to record. So this is the same model dynamic microphone. As I told you, there's a magnet and a coil. Here, as you see, there's a diaphragm, but there's a charged backplate, okay? And there's already current, you can see capacitor and resistor here. So this is a more sophisticated device and very expensive. Condenser microphones are quite expensive. They can cost you in India anywhere between, let's say, 20K up to about 2 to 3 lakhs also, if you want to use very sophisticated devices. And nowadays, we are using very small chips called as the micro electro, mechanical semiconductor devices. They come as a semiconductor. This can be used anywhere, like you can even install in the field and come back. So type of microphones are there. Unidirectional microphone, which takes sound from only one direction. Imagine you are recording like that. You're holding the microphone. It will take only from in front of you, the sounds which are coming in front of you. They will not take any sound which is coming behind from you. Whereas bidirectional microphone is there where you can use it for interviews. For example, you are talking and your interview is also talking. So both the sounds are recorded. But if you want to record everything, then you have to use stereo microphone, which will record from omnidirection. It's all the direction. Majority of the microphone, for example, the mobile microphones, as well as any device which you're using for recording, most of the time it is GoPros or cameras. They are most of the time stereotype or omnidirectional. But if you want for any type of recording where you're interviewing, etc., you can also use bidirectional. But for acoustic studies, I would highly recommend these type of microphone you see in the photo, right? Sennheiser ME60, which is what I used for my research also. So this is very sensitive because it will take sound from only one direction. Imagine your frog is crawling in front of you. If there's any sort of noise background, it cancels out most of the sound. So external unidirectional microphones are best for better separation of calls from background noise. Okay. And condenser microphones are shotguns. They come in different bands like Rode, Sennheiser. Sennheiser is known for bioacoustics device. And automated sound recording devices are also being used. For example, wildlife acoustics, audio mouth provides. No, I won't say very cheap, but you can get it for at least around 4 to 5 thousand. Also, you can get it in bulk and install it in different places. You can set it. It will record and its own. You don't need to be there. Whereas when you are using such devices, these condenser dynamic microphones, you can't keep it and come because it's costing you a lot of money, right? But whereas these are quite cheap, you can set it and set it in a way that it will record for every 1 hour, maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes. It will continue for hours and days and days. It can be kept for even 3 4 months also. It's just working like your. Have you heard field? What is that? Cameras, right? Camera traps. What we say. If you want to identify if there's a tiger in a given habitat, you will set up at least 3 4 camera traps in possible locations where this particular animal may move. So similar way, if you want to know what is the species which are there in a given area, you can also set up such automated sound recorders. What is the qualities of the recorder? What you need? Manual adjustment of the recording level is very important. So you have something called gain level. So you should be able to set it by your own because sometimes when you're keeping it auto, what happens is the sound of the animal is so intense that the your recorder is set at a lower level. It will not be able to pick up all the signals. Or your recorder is set at a high level and the sounds are so feeble. You have to set it properly so that none of the sounds are getting clipped. Tomorrow in the waveform model, I'll show you what is clipping if you're interested. But your gain levels has to be set first. Okay. And availability of the uncompressed format, like how we have raw in photography, the format for recording is called dot wave format. This format is very important because this is a looseless, uncompressed format. If you record in this, you'll get all the data and you can edit it or analyze it as you want. And your recorder should be well built. Imagine you're having a very flimsy recorder because you're a field biologist. If it drops in the field or if it drizzles, sometimes your entire recorder may go, spoiled. So it should be well built. Battery should be widely available. I would recommend you buying a recorder which has double a battery because it's the most commonly available battery everywhere across the globe. But if you're buying some sophisticated device which has a battery which you don't get in India at all, then it'll be difficult. And built-in speakers should be there because sometimes you have to play back in the field itself and see what you have recorded, right? Things to remember while recording, set the sampling rate and sampling size. So it will go a little technical now. Tomorrow session, I will explain you all this in detail with the software. Don't worry now, but just I'm going to give you a gist of it. What is sampling rate and sampling size? Sampling rate means imagine your particular animal which you're recording has a particular frequency. Okay. Imagine the frog what I want to record is calling at 3 kilohertz, means 3000 hertz. You should set the sampling rate in such a way it should be double the calling frequency. If it is at 3 kilohertz, you should set it minimum up to 8 kilohertz or 6, whatever is the sampling rate what you have. Your sampling rate something like no, or maybe 11.1 or 22, 44, such ranges are there. So I generally keep it at 44.1, which is most commonly used no, recording for amphibians. But if you're recording a bat or something like which is calling at ultrasonic sounds, then you need a higher level of sampling rate. Okay, sampling size is just like the bit rate in your computer or in your device. Means you'll record more data. Every single small data which will be there will be amplified so that it requires more space. So, for example, you can use 8 bits, 16 bits, 32 bits. I would recommend using 16 bits because the more bit rates you use, 16 bit, 32 bits or 64 bits, then your data becomes so huge you can't handle it because it will be in GBs. Okay, one call will be in some gigabytes. Distance between the microphone and vocalizing, as I told you, just remember sampling rate should be double the frequency, dominant frequency means the frequency which has highest energy. It should be double then. Always remember that. Distance between the microphone and the vocalizing animal. Imagine it's a big animal, like for example, bullfrog. You can distance yourself about 1 meter. Imagine it's a small microhyalid, narrow mouth frog. You can go as close as 1 feet, maybe, or even beyond that, so that you get the best signals. And get this or set the sound gain level prior to the recording. Very, very important. So, gain level is a feature which you have in your recorder, basically. Imagine recording any sound. So you can have different sound pressure levels or sound pressure or energies coming from that particular sound or animal. Now you have to set your recorder so that that gain level should be almost close to the highest recording ability of that particular recorder, but it should not touch the zero mark. Like, tomorrow's presentation, I'll show you what exactly it means. There are some markings on your recorder. It will have up to zero. If it touches zero, that means your sound intensity is so high, it's more than the recording level of the or recording level capacity of your recorder. So you're going to clip some of the amplitudes in the waveform, which I'll be able to show you only when I use a sound, an analyzing software like Raven. Tomorrow I will be able to show. But you have to set the sound level or gain level first. Then only you have to press the click button or the recording button. Okay. First set the gain level, then record the sounds. Very, very important. And vocalizing animal, very important. What animal you are working on, you should know about its behavior, when it calls, is it calling in the daytime, nighttime, how, what are the parameters you need to sort of take account of when you're recording that animal. You need to know your animal well. Okay, if it is a frog or maybe it may be a bird, it may be a bat, it may be a langur, whatever it is. You need to know your animal well. And use of low and high pass filters should be done with caution because low pass filter means you can set a filter which will record only sounds which below that particular frequency. For example, if I said low pass filter value is 2 kilohertz, it will record only values or sounds which are below 2 kilohertz. But you don't know, your song may be having frequencies even 5 kilohertz. So you are clipping that sound. High pass filter if you use, for example, I use 3 kilohertz. Whatever is below 3 kilohertz, it will not record. Only record which is higher than that. Don't use that. Never use any filters. Number of samples depends on your work. If your intention is just to know what species is that, when a one animal about, let's say about 5 to 6 calls should be enough. But your intention is to do a research and understand what is the complexity of their calls, how is population interacting, etc., etc. Then you have to record a minimum of at least 10 to 20 individuals, and every individual should produce at least minimum 30 to 40 or even more than that number of calls. It depends what type of work you're doing. So the number of samples depends on the choice of your research. Okay. Recording and post recording. While recording, what you should do or what you should not do. While recording, you should focus only on recording and you should set the gain levels first, then only record. And you should not have much noise in the background and you should not move around. You should not have noise of your movement because it will be recorded in a recorder. Post recording, you should also speak to it and say the data. Okay, recording was done in on 25th of October at 8:30 p.m. It was from Bangalore, so and so on, and give the data. I recorded a micro highlight, and I'm not sure what I'm recorded. It may be a different species what then I'm thinking about. Okay, such things you can give that because sometimes even if you miss to write it somewhere, you will have this data in your recording itself. That's a very interesting feature. Even if when you record any sounds of birds or animals when you're in the field, please point out what you're recording and where you are and what is the date, what people are there, what is the event, etc. So that even if you miss the metadata, like if you miss the return data about the event or that particular sound, you still have it in the recording itself, so that you can go back and always retrieve it. And take environmental and morphology, very, very important. Whenever you're doing acoustic analysis or acoustic recordings for frogs, you have to take environmental parameters like temperature, humidity, okay, and other data, maybe canopy cover, etc. Based on what type of work you are doing. If you want those data, please take it. Morphological parameters. You have to take sphere, snout to vent length, means from the tip of the animal to the end of the animal. You have to take the length. Because what happens in frogs, the bigger the size, lower the frequency. You know that bigger the animal, large is the vocal fold. Longer the vocal fold, you can imagine thread. You are holding, two people are holding a thread. As the thread is long, if you try to vibrate it, it will produce longer waves, means frequency is low pitch. Okay. If you take a smaller thread and try to vibrate it, it will produce high frequency sound, means wavelength is very short. Okay. So please understand even the size of the frog and its weight also matters. That's why, along with the sound, you have to record its body parameters also. It's must. If you're doing any research, you cannot just record the sound because you want to do any analysis, you need these parameters. For automated recorder, you can see that you can set, you can see here what is the sampling rate, what is the gain level. They've set it medium here. You can also set it gain levels high or low. Medium to be on the safe side. Most of the time they can set it this way. You can see sleep duration, how much time it has to sleep, how much time it has to record. 55 minutes it will, sorry, seconds it will record in a minute, and 5 seconds it sleeps. Then you can set how long it has to record also in a day, every hour or 2 hours once. All that you can be setting, okay? And yeah, you can also have filters, but here they have not used any filters. As I told you, low pass, high pass filters also can be used. But most of the time, please or never use. And what are the some common pitfalls what we have when we do any sort of acoustic recording? Avoid automatic recording adjustment level. As I told you, don't keep the gain levels automatic. You have to set manually. Use of noise filters should be done with precaution. I would say don't use any filters. Extra care while handling the device as not to switch or acceleration, deceleration button. Sometimes there'll be acceleration, deceleration buttons. Don't ever switch it on. Being too close or too far will make you miss the signals. Okay? Or sometimes even clips. Different software used. Tomorrow also we have a session 7 to 8. I'll be talking how to use Raven. I would request all of you to uh, download this software when you come for the tomorrow session. I've typed it in the chat box. Raven Lite, uh, Raven Pro Lite or Raven Lite. Or even if you're not able to do that, then you can also uh, get this Audacity. But I'll be using Raven. It will be easy for you. But Raven Pro, I'll tell you one feature of Raven Pro. Raven Pro is available for Indians for free. Otherwise, you have to pay at least about, I think, some $2,000 or something like about 1.5 lakhs. Think about it. Being an Indian, if you're genuine and if you want to work on sounds, you can write to Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which has produced this particular beautiful sound researchers using in India and abroad. So write to them, and they'll ask you for your ID card or what are you like? Are you a researcher or are you a student? If they find that you're really genuine, they'll give you this software for lifetime free membership for this software. Okay. Some call characters used. Divya, can we extend for 5 minutes or what is it?
Sure,
Or
sir,
should I
we can.
continue next?
We have time, so we can extend for 5 minutes. I don't think
Okay,
anybody
okay,
has
no
any
problem.
restriction.
Guys, please let me know if anybody has to leave so that you won't miss out things because I'm going to some of the important data around 5-10 minutes maybe on some of the characters which we are using. If you have to leave, please let me know. Are you guys okay holding back for another 5 minutes or plus?
Uh, you can please let
So,
us know in the chat box or yeah. So we can continue, sir.
okay, thank you very much. Some call characteristics what we use in acoustic, another acoustic studies means that and frogs and toads. Basically, I'll introduce some sounds, not all. Of course, we cannot introduce all. There are 100 different parameters. But what is something very important? I'm going to just quickly introduce you. One is what is sound always? I think all of you know. Sound is just pressure. Pressure change in any medium is called as sound. And sound has a frequency. Frequency means number of waves that passes in a unit time. Wavelength is distance between the crest or the trough. I'll show you in this image. The distance between the crest or the troughs here to here or here to here is called as wavelength. Okay. And number of times, if you have a point here, how many times the waves pass is called as frequency. If you see 1, 2, 3, 4, which one has the highest frequency? Can you please type in the chat box? Which one has the highest frequency among this? And which has the lowest? Yeah, very good. I think you got it. I think basic high school maths or high school physics, okay, where you are understanding what is frequency. The higher the frequency, shorter the wavelength. You can see, if you see the fourth wave, frequency is very high. Look at the wavelength, very short. Look at this third one. Frequency is very low. Number of times wave passes per second compared to this wave is very short. But look at the wavelength, very long. So longer the wavelength, shorter or smaller is the pitch. Okay, lower is the pitch. And higher the, shorter the wavelength, higher is the pitch or frequency. Longer the wavelength, lower is the pitch or lower is the frequency. Very, very important. This you have to understand. That's why larger frogs having larger vocal folds have lower frequency because, as I told you, the string hypothesis, if you beat a string which is very, very long, it produces longer waves. So larger frogs always produce lower frequency, which can travel much farther. Whereas smaller frogs always have smaller vocal folds and high frequency travels low distances or less distances because they will have the females very close by, right? Oscillogram and spectrogram. Okay, look at that. This is called oscillogram, the top one. Oscillogram is a representation of amplitude of sound over time, where you have proper sinusoidal waves, which I'll show you tomorrow in the software. Spectrogram is, of course, I can't explain you in detail. This is a physics phenomenon called fast Fourier transform. It's a Fourier transformation where you convert the time domain into frequency domain, where this particular graph, what you're showing in shades of black and white, the darker regions show the highest energy containing frequency. For example, if you see this y-axis is frequency, x-axis is sound. So here 4 kilohertz is the highest frequency of this particular frog. But you can't make out this from the waveform. This is called oscillogram of waveform. This is called spectrogram. Spectrogram gives us information about frequency, peak frequency or dominant frequency of the animal. Whereas other temporal properties, time limited properties like what is the duration of the call, etc., can be understood from the oscillogram or waveform. Some of the important parameters I'll tell you now. One is call series. For example, if this is a species which is calling, you can say repetitive call. Sometimes interchangeably, note is also, don't worry on that. Note and call doesn't have huge difference, but different papers may use different terminology, but I'm using it here as a call. You can also use note series also. And this complete thing also can be called as call also. Doesn't matter. I'm using the word call series for that or call bound. And single wave which you are seeing here is call. And if I zoom into this, B is a call. I zoomed into B. You can see this is one B. You can see this shorter sort of waves or we have proper demarked waves here. Within this one single call, you have this structure. And it is also having amplitude modulation. You can see that it has the envelope, amplitude envelope. And this particular structure can be called as a call ultimately. So you can see in this particular call about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 calls are there. So all these are calls. In this, there are 18 calls which are produced in the series. Okay. Sometimes scientists also call this acoustic researchers as maybe a call, and they will regard this as a note. Irrespective of both, you have to describe what you're doing. Then only you have to say what parameters and how they have calculated it, then it gives a clear idea of what you're doing in the acoustic business. Here I've clearly demonstrated you that this is the call series and this is the call. Okay. And this is when you zoom the call, this is how it looks like. And these individual waves which are going up and down with some sort of a gap is called as pulses. Same thing, I've zoomed in. Okay, I've zoomed in B now. This becomes C now. And within the C, you see that call is rising and falling. This is called call rise time, call fall time. Okay. So you can see call rise time is D, call fall time is E. And this is the pulse with the highest amplitude. You can see if you check, this is the amplitude. Look at the y-axis, called 9 kilo units. Don't worry, this is the unit sound pressure level unit. Okay. And this has the highest amplitude. Amplitude means if you imagine a wave, it reaches the highest or tallest position. So this particular pulse can be used for any further analysis of pulses. Pulse also is a very important character. This is the individual one. You can see in this call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pulses are there. And this is the pulse you're going to take to study the characteristics of the pulse for this particular species, because this is the pulse with the highest amplitude. And you will say this is the pulse duration. For example, this started here and ended here. This is the pulse duration. And this is the pulse rise time. And this is the pulse fall time. You can see here. G is the pulse rise time. So these are some of the temporal characters, these time-based characters which you can take from the sound. Okay. Yes, I'll stop here. Tomorrow's session, we are going to see in detail about what we learned today. We are going to apply it tomorrow in the session and understand how to use the Raven Pro and analyze the sounds, and also how we can use it for doing different types of researches in amphibians or frogs and toads in specific, and also in other taxa also. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. So tomorrow again at 7 o'clock we will be joining. I'll also share the link, and now we can end the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you all. See you tomorrow. If you have any doubts, please keep it for tomorrow. We can discuss it towards the end. I'll keep 10 minutes for discussion.